Hello guys, what is up? My name is Dylan. Welcome back to the Popcorn Podcast. This is episode number 37. You might notice this setup is a little different. We are trying something a little bit different. Who knows if it's going to work? We shall find out soon enough. I am joined by the Harley Quinn to my Joker for a special episode on Joker, Folie À Deux. Welcome back, Clara.
Thank you for having me.
Let's just go straight into the film. So, of course, the film we are going to be reviewing, breaking down, discussing is Joker, Folie À Deux, the sequel to 2019's Todd Phillips' Joker. Yeah, without further ado, spoiler alert, guys, if you haven't seen the film, please do go check it out and come back to this review at a later time. We're also going to be playing some games towards the end of this episode. So, Joker, Folie À Deux. So, Arthur Fleck is incarcerated at Arkham Asylum, waiting trial for his crimes as Joker. While struggling with his dual identity, Arthur not only stumbles upon the love of his life, Harley Quinn, but also finds the music that's always been inside of him. Pretty sort of general kind of synopsis there of the film. So we saw this last night, opening night of Joker Folie À Deux. Just before we do get into our thoughts about this sequel, I want to ask you, Clara, Joker 2019, what did you think of that film? How has that film changed for you over the past couple of years? Take it away.
When I first saw the film, it was when it came out. And everyone I went with was, thought it was amazing and a masterpiece and all of this. And I didn't really like it, to be honest.
Surprise.
I kind of felt like it was just a sort of bad version of Taxi Driver. And I was quite disappointed because I thought I'd had the hype. I thought it was going to be something amazing. And then so I sort of left it alone thinking, oh, that was just a bit of a disappointing film. But we rewatched it just before watching Joker 2. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I feel like I obviously had gone into it before with too high expectations, and I came into this one sort of just, wanting a villain origin story, not expecting too much, and I was pleasantly surprised. I thought it was obviously a gorgeous film and something different that we don't necessarily see that often for superhero, supervillain sort of films.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did enjoy it, and obviously Joaquin Phoenix is brilliant.
Yeah. Quick side note, I just do actually want to straight up ask you.
Yeah.
I feel like, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah, go on.
A lot of films that you have rewatched recently, when I say recently, I mean over the past 1-2 years.
Since we've been together, yeah.
Essentially, yeah. I find that you are almost looking at those films in a different light and almost appreciating a lot of them more than when you did beforehand. I'm not saying that's because of me. I think
it partly is. I feel like before I went to the cinema if people were talking about a film and saying it was really good.
Yeah.
And I would watch films again if people were like, oh, this is a brilliant film. Then I'd watch it. Whereas we watch now everything. We met working at a cinema where we got free cinema tickets. We watched everything. So I feel like I've just seen more bad films to appreciate when something's a good film.
Definitely.
I think that's really the answer.
No, 100%. I do actually think that does make a huge, difference in, whether or not you can appreciate a film is, just the amount of films you do watch. The more films you watch, the wider the skew, the more art you're exposed to. So, some art that you can really kind of diagnose as, this is kind of really, really bad, and others you can sort of appreciate a lot more, I would say.
Yeah.
That being said, I seem to have had somewhat the inverse of a reaction to the original Joker as you did. So when I first saw Joker, I really, really loved it. I thought it was great. I was pretty surprised at just how kind of not a traditional comic book film, it was. Even though obviously it was kind of hinting at that, you have a star like Joaquin Phoenix. It doesn't have Batman. It is a Joker origin story. Less on the action, more on the drama. Produced by Warner Brothers, distributed by Warner Brothers. Huge film. And it went on to become the highest grossing R-rated film of all time. And I thought that was such a huge win for cinema because it was, exposing mass audiences to a more a more drama-driven film, but with still like almost through a lens of a blockbuster. I say
it's definitely a character study.
Exactly, a character study on a mass scale using familiar property, the character of the Joker, etc., and doing interesting things with it. Very derivative things, obviously. I would say, like, the more I watch Joker, I want to say the less I've enjoyed it, just because I can see just more of that kind of influence of films like Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. This is very much a more sort of mass audience kind of version of those films, and those films, in my opinion, are a lot better. But I still do like the film a lot. I think Joaquin Phoenix is great. I think it's a beautiful looking film. I love the score by Hilda Guðnadóttir, and her score in this film is also, for me, one of the stronger aspects of this film. But I was excited to see Joker Folie À Deux.
What was your sort of expectations going into Joker?
So I was really excited beforehand, because I heard that they were going to do a musical, and I'm not like a huge musical person, but over the years I have come to appreciate musicals more, the good ones at least. La La Land, for example, is one of my all-time favorites. You know this. A fun fact as well, Clara used to like La La Land. Now she does.
I just didn't think
surprise.
The greatest film. It's fine.
But it is.
Argue about this.
But it is. But speaking of La La Land, I was hoping / expecting this film to almost be kind of a sort of twisted, psychotic version of La La Land. With these, Joker and bringing in the Harley Quinn character.
I think
this, this crazy, insane relationship, and sort of giving it a bit more of a kind of sinister spin to that idea. I was really looking forward to, and I think just musicals as well. It just opens up, you can do so many cool visual things with that genre. That don't always necessarily have to abide by realism, so to speak.
And I think with Todd Phillips with being so good before, with taking something like the whole like superhero, supervillain kind of thing, and sort of breaking out of that and doing something so twisted and dark and sinister and just slightly different. I was kind of expecting that, but for a musical, taking something that's usually, very kid friendly, very sort of pure and all of that, and really sort of twisting it and doing something new. That's what I kind of wanted from this film, using all those aesthetics and all those iconic ideas and doing something new. I'm a big musical fan. I like old school musicals, Sound of Music, Singing in the Rain.
They had like one reference to Singing in the Rain with the umbrellas, but that was it. That was about it.
And so I love old school musicals, new musicals. I do like La La Land way more than when I first watched it now. But yeah.
All in all though, Joker Folie À Deux.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we're going to break this down. But I think it's safe to say the pair of us weren't too happy walking out of the screening. Yeah, it was very, very disappointing for, I think, the pair of us. In your opinion, Clara, what do you feel like is one of the biggest issues, or one of your biggest issues with Joker Folie À Deux?
I have two quite huge, big issues with it. First of all, the plot. The whole plot is basically a court trial, looking at what the murders Joker has already committed. And it's basically just a reflection on the first film. They don't really push the character forward that much. He's still sort of, the split personality that he sort of had before, but nothing really new. We're not seeing any more. Nothing new is learnt about his past. And the Harley Quinn thing, she sort of flits in and out, but has zero character of her own.
Yep.
And to be honest, is no different to the sort of woman he was fantasizing about in the first film. He's just something new for him to sort of fantasize about. She doesn't really have a character of her own. So I just thought the plot just didn't really know what it was doing. It was just sort of revisiting the first film. It was way too long. The other big problem I had was this whole musical aspect. It wasn't, in my opinion, that's not a musical. They sang songs that, I think there was one song, I could be wrong, that was written for this.
No, there are a lot of songs written for this, but that just goes to show how.
Yeah.
Go for it. Yeah.
I don't know. It just felt very like the dare to say musical numbers. They really weren't. Was sort of Joker or Harley Quinn sitting and singing. Yeah. Occasionally they'd I don't know, move slightly,
break out into dance,
but it wasn't a breakout into dance. No. There was no I felt like it was no more dance number than him sort of dancing in the bathroom in the first one.
Yeah.
they weren't really dance numbers like that, I felt.
So
I don't know.
Are you saying essentially this sequel didn't really earn the title of being a musical?
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
They were just sort of, and when they started singing, I was just a bit like, okay, but it doesn't move the story forward. Like, why La La Land is brilliant is because each song moves the story forward. It tells you something new about the character.
Exactly.
Each number is different. Every single song they sung basically sounded the same.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't the happy one and the sad one and the angry one. That they tonally were completely identical. And there was, again, think of La La Land. Think of how different each musical number is, color-wise, dance-wise, like theme-wise. Each one was the same. It was just them sitting and singing. Like, it was so. With all the money and the resources they had for this film, I felt they had opportunity to do so much more.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I don't think this film really earns kind of earns the genre of being, a musical, just because the characters every now and then break out into song, occasionally sitting, occasionally lying down, occasionally standing, who knows. It's almost like they have scenes of dialogue and then almost forget that, oh shit, we've declared that we're a musical, so we have to now do this next bit as a song.
Yeah.
But like you said, that musical aspect doesn't progress the characters or the story forward. It doesn't tell us necessarily anything new about those characters. We don't discover more about them. It is just occasionally an excuse for the film to explore a slightly more surreal aspect. But even then, I think there was just, for me, the one kind of standout musical scene, which was in the courtroom.
100%.
Which was, for me,
good.
probably the best musical scene, where Joker kind of goes around killing all these people. He bashes the judge's head in, and all that's, and Harley's kind of dancing on top of a table, etc. That sort of captures the kind of essence that I was really kind of looking for with this film.
Really done that for more, and really embellished that whole sort of fantasy aspect.
Yeah,
it could have been we could have been speaking about it completely differently. It could have been a great film.
Exactly. And like you said, with I'm going to build on what you said about the La La Land comparison. Every single one of those songs in La La Land tells you something about the characters, the situation that they're in, what they're seeking, and how that eventually moves the story forward. For example, Someone in the Crowd, Emma Stone's, one of her big musical moments towards the start of the film. Someone in the crowd could be the one you need to know, basically, as she's seeking this life in Hollywood. She's, it tells you everything you need to know about that character in that moment, and of course has all these incredible sort of musical and dance aspects to it. The Joker, I feel like they've really wasted Lady Gaga here. I feel like, she's such an incredible musical talent, and every now and then, she sings a song. And I mean, I tell you what, I think this is a good segue into one of the main problems with this film, or one of the most disappointing aspects of this film, is the character of Harley Quinn, or Lee Quinzel, as they refer to her in this film. She's just not really, I don't really get her. She is in this sort of psychiatric ward, and essentially opens that musical door to Arthur. He ends up going to this sort of session where, they use music almost as therapy to help them express themselves, and almost kind of have this communal aspect. But that was never kind of really embraced or built upon properly again in the film. No. Lady Gaga, I think, is a super talented performer, and she's proven herself time and time again to be a really talented actress, and I think that there's only so much she could do with the writing that her character was given. She's this person who stumbles upon Arthur, or Arthur stumbles upon her, and he immediately falls in love with her, love at first sight. And that makes sense for a character who has never experienced that kind of feeling before.
It's like she takes notice of him, and then
exactly.
He loves her. It does make sense for his character.
Exactly. And on the flip side, you can see that she loves Joker. She loves the idea of Joker. She loves that person. She worships and praises what he did in the first film with Murray Franklin on his show, and sort of praises the idea about how that character connected with her and her inner demons, or her problems. But that is never really explored much more than just in one or two scenes at the start of the film.
Yeah, and it just doesn't really. We never really understand why she idolizes Joker. I feel
Yes, exactly.
because at the beginning it was, I grew up in the same neighborhood as you. I was.
It's very
mentally
confusing.
ill, I was
Yeah.
poor. Da, 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 da. And then it comes out halfway through the film that no, she was lying. She's actually rich.
Yeah.
And fine. So it just doesn't really make sense. Like
No.
she's sort of toying with him, and we kind of get that, but why?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't really make sense. And it again makes me feel like he's a figment of her imagination again, because she just doesn't really make sense as a character. But the film builds it that other people can see her, so she clearly is there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just, to me, the whole thing just didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, I think she definitely is a character. Like,
Yeah, she is a character, but don't you think? Do you get what I'm saying? That because she makes so little sense.
Yeah. I mean,
It's almost.
But unfortunately, I don't think that's intentional. I think it's literally what they were, going for. I think that character is so sort of half baked.
Yeah.
And sort of kind of pops in and out. Of the film every now and
with
then.
new makeup, new outfit, and
Yeah.
obviously Lady Gaga's fantastic voice.
Yeah, no, exactly. The film as a whole, yeah, like you said, it has. I mean, for me, like on the one hand, it is this kind of prison film, sort of drawing on sort of Shawshank, and even like a hint of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest I found with that. And then a lot of it is, of course, this courtroom drama. And then also this kind of supposedly twisted love story between the two characters. And neither one of those three things, for me, paid off or felt satisfying.
100%.
If I had to say what the strongest of those three aspects were, I don't really know. I really don't know. Maybe. Go for it.
I probably would have said the prison.
The prison, yeah.
Until the last scene, not last scene, like last scene in the prison where the guards abuse Joker.
Yeah.
But again, they've built these prison guards up to have quite nuanced characters. I think they've done that quite well.
Yes.
They clearly want to build an atmosphere that isn't too sinister in the prison, considering a lot of these guys, are about to go on death row kind of thing. I get the idea. But they have quite, a jovial atmosphere with the guys. They give Joker a cigarette for telling a joke kind of a thing.
Yeah.
They would never let them step out of line. They clearly sort of hit them and, drag them places and things like that. But,
there's a slight hint of like fondness, dare I say.
There is a slight hint.
They have, it's not straight up as like a typical what you'd expect in a lot of prison films where the prison guards are all evil and they just want to abuse the prisoners.
Yeah, there's this jovial aspect. And then Joker sort of vaguely insults them on TV. Yeah. And they, they
don't say it. We'll get.
Yeah. But they do horrific things to Joker,
right.
Which all three of them do as well. And it just doesn't quite make sense. Whereas I felt like all the violence in Joker 1 did sort of make sense. Like you could see where each one was coming from, one leading to the other, a mugging, 3 drunk guys beating up a clear sort of weirdo loner on the tube. Like, very violent and maybe a little bit of a stretch, but it so made sense in that world.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, even in this world, just didn't it was just like, oh, okay, that's rogue.
Yeah.
And you don't believe it. You're not as scared because you're so taken out of it, I felt.
Yeah. I mean, the only way I could see that scene making sense in terms of, why did they put that scene in is for us as an audience to feel slightly more sympathetic towards the Arthur Fleck character, perhaps. And that, speaking of which, I just, like you said, I feel like this film, I think it's underdeveloped, and above all else, I think it's unnecessary. It doesn't really build upon, the first film. It doesn't do what sequels should do, which is taking, things from the first, building upon that, but also forging its new identity and progressing the characters forward. Arthur Fleck is, you could argue, is the same person he was at the end of Joker 1 as he is in the end of Joker 2. The only difference is he's dead at the end of Joker 2.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, everybody on the internet seems to be going crazy over the ending for Joker Folie À Deux. What did you think of the ending?
After a very disappointing film, I didn't mind the ending.
Right.
I thought the idea could have been good if the film had been better. The idea that sort of Joker is this symbol and not necessarily a person.
Yep.
And that this sort of random killing by someone else who clearly isn't quite all there.
Yep.
I mean, I didn't hate it. I thought it was just deeply unsatisfying because the whole film had been deeply unsatisfying.
Right.
It wasn't, to me, the ending that was the big problem.
Yeah, I would agree. I do think people are like overreacting a bit at this ending.
Yeah.
I mean, like, firstly, like, I don't want to say like, what are you expecting? Like, you know that it's not going to end well for this character.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a shocking thing that Arthur Fleck has died. I think, like you said, I agree with you that the film overall is just a bit disappointing, and just to have that ending just is like, oh, okay,
Yeah, it's
you
just
know,
like, oh,
what the
why
hell?
did I
Sure.
even bother? Like,
Yeah, like, so, yeah, and this idea of, you know, Arthur Fleck not being the real Joker, people are saying, oh, you know, Heath, you know, is this the origin of Heath Ledger's Joker? No, I just, no. You know, I know he takes is it the knife or the blade or whatever and starts doing the kind of, the Glasgow smile on his face and starts laughing maniacally, like similar to Heath Ledger's Joker. But let's be honest, that portrayal of the character is so popularized and so iconic that you can't help but, even if I was playing Joker, I would find it very difficult not to steal elements of that.
I think Joaquin Phoenix does an amazing job at making
it his own. Yeah, making his own character. And I think he is once again terrific in this film. Do I think he's sort of has the same kind of investment as he's done in the first film? No, because I mean, he bagged the Oscar. Like, realistically, what else does he really need to be here for, apart from, you know, the big money bag?
But working with Lady Gaga.
Yeah, and working with Lady Gaga. But yeah, I think he's great. And I think, I mean, you said to me as we were walking out the film, one of your big issues was you were just bored.
Oh yeah, I was bored. I think without Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga, the film would have been unwatchable.
Yeah.
And with them, it was still boring.
Yeah. For me as well, like, I don't think I was bored, but I think it was just because I don't really know. I was sort of hoping and waiting, so I was in constant anticipation. So my body almost didn't allow me to be bored, if that makes sense. But if I was to watch this again, could I see myself being riveted? No, there's no way. I think, unfortunately, Folie À Deux really is a really kind of hollow, empty shell of the first film.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really have anything sort of new or meaningful to say. Go for it. What's
Can I
up?
just say?
Yep.
I do have something that I did take away from this film that I really, really enjoyed.
I do want to talk a little bit of the positives though, but go for it. Yeah.
Which was the first, I want to say 5 minutes, which were the animated sequence.
Yes.
I loved that. After that, I was so excited for the film. I thought taking that old style Warner Bros, you know, original,
the Looney Tunes style.
Looney Tunes, original Disney, like that kind of like crazy cartoon where your shadow comes alive and you can walk through a drawing kind of idea of a film. I loved that. And that take on the split personality with the shadow and how that comes back to bite you and making it a bit more like violent and dark. I thought that was great. I loved that.
Yeah,
animated
that was brilliant.
Well, and I'm such a sucker for those old cartoons.
Yeah.
So I just really enjoyed it.
And that scene, that was as well. It wasn't a gimmick. It did actually set up the kind of conflict of the film quite nicely. The idea of the dual personality, that shared psychosis, quite well. So yeah, I thought that was really, really good. Another, I did mention it before, but I think the score as well by Hilda Guðnadóttir, it's terrific. A lot of it is obviously similar themes, the same theme as the first film, but there's this beautiful moment I remember watching where I was literally in the cinema, I was like, oh my God, that's chef's kiss, where the score, where that Arthur Fleck kind of theme sort of really beautifully merges and blends into a musical cue really, really nicely. And I thought that was spot on. Another thing I do want to mention in this film was one of the scenes that, dare I say, almost got me, was the scene in which Lee Gill, I think his name is, who plays Gary Puddles, when he comes in to sort of testify. I thought that scene was, in of itself, quite a moving scene. I thought that the performance when he got up on the stool in the courtroom was one of the stronger parts of that whole courtroom drama. Scene,
I think seeing him when the Joker sort of goes, well, I didn't, I let you go. You were nice to me. I didn't want to hurt you. And he's like, well, what the fuck do you mean? You did hurt me. Like, I'm so scarred by this. Yeah. Like that whole scenario and just watching that play out was the one time where I felt like they were playing with something a little bit deeper. And a lot of films we see, huge and violent events, and if it doesn't happen to the character, everyone else is sort of okay. Yeah. But obviously in real life, you've got, if you see a traumatic event, you often have trauma. Like, it doesn't have to happen to you.
Yep.
And playing with that idea is something that I haven't seen so much in the mainstream. I think it's interesting, but also just unbelievably well acted.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a strong scene.
I think it's interesting because a lot of the criticism surrounding the first Joker film was almost this idea that the film almost glamorized kind of incel culture of, like, you know, having these sort of deprived, you know, majority of the time men, you know, and almost glamorize the idea. But I thought this scene in the second film was almost like taking that idea and saying, actually, no, that's not what we're doing. What we're showing is also, regardless of how shunned by society you can be, and you know, by the people around you, etc. And as much of those things are not your fault, it doesn't justify your actions to, you know, to be violent and to you know, cause injustice, because it has an effect on other people, even people who are shunned by society themselves.
Yeah, and people that are secondhand to the violence. But it's
Exactly.
like a very key, and I won't be political for too long, but it's a very key thing that I think a lot of newspapers, a lot of defences use on, like, mental illness and mental health.
Yeah.
And, you know, sort of what is the history of the perpetrator in that, like, they're mentally unwell and all of these kind of things. There's loads and loads of people who are mentally unwell in so many different ways who are not violent.
Yes.
Like, mental illness does not equate to violence.
Exactly.
And the idea that that message is being pushed in any way, I understand, is deeply, like, hurtful to people who are members of, you know, who have different, you know, mental health problems, or, you know, who are neurodivergent, and all of these things. That can be an extremely hurtful message, but also it diminishes a victim's rights in cases, because mental illness, neurodivergency does not equate to violence.
Yeah, it's very, it generalizes.
It's not a like reason to be violent.
Yeah.
So I do get why people were offended by this film, but I don't think it's what the film was trying to do, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, it wasn't. But I don't think. No, I think the first film, that was a lot of the criticism for it. Was like, oh yeah, but like you're making us sympathize for someone who is, at the end of the day, incredibly violent.
Yeah.
And you know, and showing how, like, you know, that is almost, the film isn't doing this, but almost like the idea that look at the power that those people have, and you know, essentially making you sympathetic towards that cause. A lot of people were saying, and I think it is. What's up?
Nothing.
I think that theme is quite complex, but I think to show a character who wasn't really a massive part of the first film, but then bringing him on into the second film to almost give this additional kind of layer or side to the film, this really emotive and kind of sympathetic side to the to this film, and to that whole sort of tragedy of Arthur Fleck, was quite effective, and it definitely was more effective than bringing the Zazie Beetz character.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, like for me, that was for me the best part of the courtroom hearing. But I think just all in all, this film was really quite disappointing, but not without some good aspects, I would say. I would definitely and people can disagree with me, but I would definitely much rather watch Joker Folie À Deux than last week's Megalopolis. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, yeah, no, 100%. The acting was good, the music was alright, like, it's fine.
Yeah. Let me know, guys, if you would rather watch Joker 2 or Megalopolis. That's actually a question I have for you. But yeah, that is our review breakdown of Joker Folie À Deux. Do let us know what you thought of the film down in the comment section below, whether you agree with us and you think this film, you know, it was really disappointing, or whether or not you actually did quite enjoy or like this film.
Well,
I feel like
first time in a while we've agreed on a film.
Yeah.
On the podcast.
Yeah. It must be this new setup. All right, guys, we have made it to everybody's favorite part of the episode. We're going to be playing some games. The first of which is a podcast classic. It's hard to escape this treacherous game every single episode, but it's too addicting for me as a host to do this. So we are going to play Has Joaquin Phoenix starred alongside the following actors?
All your guests.
Sorry?
Just torturing all your guests.
Yeah, we shall see. So we have 6 actors, and I'm going to ask you, Clara, has Joaquin Phoenix starred alongside the following actors? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
So first up, we have, has Joaquin Phoenix starred alongside Demi Moore?
I'm going to go for No?
That's correct. They have not starred alongside each other. Has Joaquin Phoenix starred alongside Jake Gyllenhaal?
I feel like because they're like so similar in my head, I want to say yes. So I'm going to go for yes.
They have starred alongside each other, and a lot of people might know this, but they did star together in a film that came out a couple of years ago. It's called The Sisters Brothers, which I still haven't seen, but I believe it's a Western sort of film. Very kind of low key. I don't know if that film is pretty
I
good
can't
or
lie, I
not,
didn't
but
know the film.
yeah. Up next, has Joaquin Phoenix starred alongside Mark Wahlberg?
Gonna go
Marky
for
Mark.
no.
They have. They starred together in, I believe, a 2007 action crime drama thriller called We Own the Night. That was also directed by James Gray, who did Ad Astra, I believe. So yeah, they have. Has Joaquin Phoenix starred alongside Daniel Craig?
No.
That is correct. They have not starred together. Has Joaquin Phoenix starred alongside Amy Adams?
I feel like I feel like I'm drawing a blank, but no.
They have. They've starred alongside each other in 2 films.
Shit.
They starred alongside each other in Spike Jonze's Her and
Oh fuck yeah!
Paul
of
Thomas
course.
Anderson's The Master. And finally, has Joaquin Phoenix starred alongside Heath Ledger?
I mean, it would have been great if they had, but I'm going for no.
Yeah, that's correct. They have not starred alongside each other. Yeah, we did not get both Jokers in the same film, unfortunately. But yeah, that was it. That was has Joaquin Phoenix starred alongside the following actors? Do let us know. Out of 6, how many you got? I think you got 3, something like that.
3.
Up next, our second game is can you guess the film based on the first line of the script? So we debuted this game in our previous episode with Adam, Mr. Adam Reviews Film. So up first, we have, although each of the world's countries would like to dispute this fact, we French know the truth. The best food in the world is made in France.
Ratatouille.
Correct.
Aw.
Ratatouille it is. It is like the presenter guy on the TV. You know the TV? Yeah. Up next,
Could have done it in a French accent.
I'm not going to do it in a French accent. Up next, we have, sure, Dad was a farmer, like everyone else back then.
Interstellar?
That is correct. That is Interstellar. Like everybody else back then, not everyone else back then. Correct, yes, that is Interstellar. That is Old Murph at the very start of the film. And if you haven't seen Interstellar, you wouldn't have known that was Old Murph.
It just ruins
Sorry.
film for everyone,
Sorry.
doesn't it?
That is correct. But come on, at this point, if you haven't seen Interstellar, get the fuck out of this podcast. Up next, we have, is it me or is it getting crazy out there?
Joker?
Correct. I mean, if you didn't get this one, we watched this film we rewatched this film a couple of days ago.
Yeah, but I feel like it doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. There are actually a couple of scenes that take place before that line is actually said. So yeah, but it is, I believe, the first proper line of dialogue in that film. So up next we have, did you hear that? They've shut down the main reactors. We'll be destroyed for sure.
Star Wars?
Correct again. Yes. That is the opening line of A New Hope. And that is C-3PO saying that to R2-D2 as the rebel ship is getting boarded by the Empire. And last but not least, we have, I'm sorry. Other character says, nope, stay. What's your name?
So the second 2 lines are said by the other character.
Correct. There's 2 characters. So the first character says, I'm sorry. And the second character says, nope, stay. What's your name? It's kind of my best impression. Shout out to those who have already got the scene.
Feels like an audition. I don't know.
It's not an audition. I'm sorry. Nope, stay. What's your name? Andrew Neiman, sir. What year are you?
It's a bit flash.
There you go. And there you have it, guys. That is Can You Guess the Film based on the first line of the script. I believe you got 4 out of 5 there, which is not bad, but I will say that those were pretty easy, I want to say. For our third and final game, we are going to play Can You Guess the Film based on the cast. So once again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 films here, and I'm going to name 3 actors from each film, and you have to tell me which film these guys all starred in together. Correct? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So first film we have is Florence Pugh, Rami Malek, and Gary Oldman.
Okay, shit. Florence Pugh.
There is
Why
a time.
Don't Worry, Darling always in my head when I think of Florence
It's
Pugh.
not Don't Worry, Darling.
Yeah, I know it's not.
That was Chris Pine, not Gary Oldman.
Yes, I know still. I don't know, what is it?
That's Oppenheimer.
What was Cillian Murphy?
I'm not doing the main people. If I said Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, and flipping Matt Damon, it'd be too easy, wouldn't it? So yeah, that is Oppenheimer. Up next, we have Ana de Armas, Jared Leto, and Dave Bautista.
It's not Knives Out because they were in opposite films. I'm doing so bad at this game.
Ana de Armas, Jared Leto, and Dave Bautista.
Have I seen this film?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
So guys, that is Blade Runner 2049.
Okay.
Yeah. Up next, we have Viola Davis, Hunter Schafer, and Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage, Game of Thrones.
I mean, I don't think Viola
Elf?
Davis...
No, joking.
I don't think Viola Davis or Hunter Schafer are in either Elf or Game of Thrones.
Hunger Games.
Yep. Hunger Games, Songbirds and Snakes, that's correct. And fun fact, that was your first episode on the podcast here.
Yeah.
That was...
With Panwa.
Yes. Up next, we have Bill Nighy, Keira Knightley, and Tom Hollander.
I want to say Love Actually, but I'm pretty sure Tom Hollander wasn't in that. Pirates?
That is correct. That is either Pirates of Dead Man's Chest or At World's End. And finally, we have, for our last question of Can You Guess the Film from the Cast, we have Barry Keoghan, Andy Serkis, and Colin Farrell.
Oh, I'm going to go with Banshees, but I'm pretty sure Andy Serkis was not in that.
That's correct. Andy Serkis was not in Banshees, but the film came out in the same year.
I don't know.
Well, guys, that was the cast for The Batman. Matt Reeves is The Batman. Well, there you go.
Was it, sorry, now I can't remember. Was it one of them that had like so much prosthetics?
Yeah, Colin Farrell.
Yeah,
who plays
no,
the
exactly.
the
So I was like, I could not, like, where was Colin Farrell in
yeah,
that
Colin
film?
Farrell. Yeah. I need to watch the TV show that he's in, The Penguin. Been meaning to get a start on that. And yeah, guys, let me know if that's any good. I think I've heard really good things. But yeah, guys, that is it. That is all for this episode. Those were our 3 games. Do let us know if you have any recommendations or any games that you would like to see on the podcast at any later upcoming episodes. We'd be honored. It'd be a pleasure to do them. We're always looking for new inviting games to play on the podcast, so please do hit us up if you have any options. But yeah, guys, that was our episode on Joker Folie À Deux. Do let us know, like I said before, what you thought of the film down below in the comment section, whether you loved it, whether you didn't love it. But no, yeah, thank you, Clara, for joining me on the couch to do this episode. Should probably be back at some point soon. Maybe with me, maybe without me. Who knows? But as in, like, I don't know, if I'm sick one time and you have to host the episode and it's too late to cancel a guest, maybe. But it's like, I'm breaking up with you right now. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will catch you very soon in the next episode of the Popcorn Podcast. Cheers.